Fish-eating birds. Many birds are skilled at hunting fish for food, such as kingfishers, boobies, seagulls, and cormorants. These birds often dive into the water quickly to catch fish with their beaks or claws. Fish-eating birds. Conversely, some large, predatory fish such as tigerfish, African tigerfish, crocodiles, and sometimes sharks can attack and eat birds that are perched on the water or flying low near the water. In special situations, fish can jump out of the water to catch birds. This phenomenon shows the diversity and complexity of predatory relationships in nature. In nature, the predatory relationship between birds and fish shows impressive diversity and adaptability. Hunting tactics of fish-eating birds. Kingfishers usually stand still on a tree branch or high rock, using their sharp eyes to observe fish underwater. When they detect prey, they dive into the water at extremely high speeds, catching fish with their long, sharp beaks. Cuphead. They can dive deep underwater to chase fish. They use their webbed feet to swim quickly and effectively when hunting. Dolphin. Fly above the water and suddenly dive down to catch fish, even from quite a great height. Hunting tactics of bird hunting fish. African tigerfish. This fish is famous for its bold hunting ability, being able to jump out of the water to catch small birds flying or perched near the water surface. Alligators. They often lie in ambush underwater, waiting for birds to come close so they can suddenly jump up and attack. Longline fishing. Longline or longline is a popular method in the fishing industry, especially for ocean tuna. This method uses a long line equipped with many baited hooks, which is lowered into the deep sea to catch tuna. Preparing the long line. A main line several kilometers long is equipped with short branches called lines, each with a hook and bait. The bait is usually small fish, squid, or other live, chemical baits to attract tuna. Casting the line, the fishing boat moves slowly and lowers the long line into the sea. Buoys are attached to the main line to hold the line at the desired depth. From 50 to 300 meters, depending on the tuna species and sea conditions. Waiting for a bite, the long line is left underwater for a certain period of time, usually from a few hours to a whole day. When the tuna bites, the fisherman will pull the line up. Pros and cons. Pros. This method is capable of catching large quantities of tuna in one trip. It is also less harmful to the marine environment than some other methods. Cons. Requires high technical skills and patience because longline fishing takes a long time. In addition, longline fishing can cause unwanted species such as sharks and sea turtles to be caught by mistake. This is an effective fishing technique and can be applied on large-scale ocean tuna fishing vessels. After the tuna bites, longline fishing requires close coordination and high technical skills from the crew. Below are details of the next steps in the longline tuna fishing process. The crew begins to retrieve the fishing line using a specialized tractor or by hand, depending on the size of the vessel and equipment system. The reeling process is done slowly to ensure that the fish do not fall off the hook and to minimize damage to the fish, especially for high-value tuna species. When the tuna is pulled to the surface, The crew will quickly catch and bring the fish onto the boat. The fish will have its fins, organs, and blood removed to keep the fish meat fresh. To ensure quality, tuna is usually iced or frozen immediately after being processed on board. After being pre-processed, the tuna will be put into cold storage or a freezing system on board with temperatures ranging from -20°C to -60°C. Quick freezing helps to preserve the quality and flavor of the fish until it reaches the dock. Crew members need to keep full records of the quantity, weight, and type of fish caught. This helps to monitor the catch and comply with regulations on the conservation of aquatic resources. When the ship arrives at the port, the tuna will be transferred to processing plants for preliminary processing, packaging, and grading before being exported or brought to the domestic market. Notes when catching tuna with long lines. Environmental protection. To avoid catching other species, such as sea turtles, sharks, fishermen often use Trouting salmon on glaciers is an activity that requires patience, skill, and an understanding of the natural environment. Salmon often live in cold water, especially glaciers in areas such as Alaska, Canada, Russia, and Northern Europe. Here are some characteristics of this activity. Glaciers often have very low temperatures. The water is often clear and fast-flowing, making it difficult to drag the net. Fishermen must wear warm clothes and use special equipment to protect their bodies. From the extreme temperatures. Used to drag across rivers. Usually released from both banks or from boats. Dragged downstream to catch salmon. This net is large in size, with meshes large enough to hold salmon but allowing smaller fish to escape. Standing net, placed in a fixed position on the river, allowing the current to push salmon into the net as they move upstream. This is a traditional method and has little impact on the environment. Schools and environmental organizations often organize extracurricular programs, educating children and residents about the importance of salmon in the food chain and their role in maintaining ecosystem balance. The establishment of salmon sanctuaries, where they can spawn and grow without being caught, has been done in many areas. This helps ensure that salmon populations are protected and have a chance to recover. Potential for developing ecotourism. Some glacier regions have begun to develop salmon-related ecotourism. Visitors can participate in the experience of trawling, fishing, or observing salmon migration. This activity not only brings economic benefits to the community but also contributes to raising awareness about conservation. Sustainable tourism programs encourage the protection of the natural environment, and the profits from tourism are often reinvested in salmon conservation projects. Uses of salmon in cuisine and culture. Salmon is not only a nutritious food source but also an important part of the culture and cuisine of many peoples. Salmon dishes such as smoked salmon, grilled salmon, or sushi have become famous specialties around the world. In traditional ceremonies, salmon is considered a symbol of abundance, gratitude, and connection with nature. These aspects show that trawling for salmon on glaciers is not only an economic activity but also reflects the complex relationship between humans and nature, as well as our efforts to protect the environment and maintain precious resources for the future. When to fish? The most important time to fish is during the salmon migration season, which usually occurs in spring and fall. This is when salmon are more concentrated, making fishing more efficient. Protecting fisheries. In many areas, salmon fishing is strictly controlled to ensure the sustainability of this species. Fishers must comply with regulations on the size, quantity, and time allowed to fish. Salmon fishing on glaciers is not only a traditional occupation but also a cultural activity and closely linked to the lives of people in the polar regions. Salmon fishing requires fishermen to have many years of experience and skills. They need to know how to read the river flow, the location of the salmon schools, and how to cast the net most effectively. Many indigenous communities in cold regions, such as the Inuit, the Sami, in northern Europe, or the Alaska Native tribes, have passed down salmon fishing techniques from generation to generation. This traditional knowledge is the foundation for sustainable salmon fishing. Using modern technology. Today, glacier salmon fishing not only relies on traditional techniques but also combines modern technology such as fish locators, motorboats, and high-strength nets. These devices help to locate fish schools more accurately and improve fishing efficiency. However, the use of technology must be considered so as not to negatively affect the glacier environment and salmon ecosystem. Economic and cultural contributions. Salmon is an important and economically valuable food source, not only providing a source of protein for local people but also an export item. Many traditional festivals in glacier communities are often related to the salmon season, such as the Salmon Thanksgiving Festival, which expresses gratitude to nature and wishes for a bountiful harvest. Conservation and environmental challenges. Climate change and melting glaciers are threatening the salmon's survival. Changes in water temperature, currents, and pollution from human activities have affected the spawning and migration habitats of salmon. Conservation measures such as establishing no-take zones, controlling salmon catches, and efforts to restore habitats are being applied to ensure the sustainable survival of this precious fish. Salmon trawling on glaciers is not only an economic activity but also closely linked to tradition, culture, and human responsibility to protect the environment of salmon and this special ecosystem. Glacier temperatures are increasing due to climate change, causing many challenges for salmon. Warmer water can reduce dissolved oxygen levels, affecting salmon growth and reproduction. Melting ice also causes more sediment and nutrients to flow into rivers, changing salmon habitat. In some areas, trawling has had to adapt to these new flows and changing water conditions. How communities are adapting to change. Indigenous communities and fishermen have adjusted the trawling techniques, fishing times, and locations to accommodate changing environments. For example, they may use smaller mesh or lighter nets to accommodate new flows, or move to different waters to find salmon. Many places are also turning to combining salmon fishing with aquaculture, which helps reduce pressure on wild salmon stocks and ensures a stable supply. Sustainable fishing and community education. Education on salmon conservation and glacier ecosystems is being promoted to raise community awareness of sustainable fishing. Schools,